Toto Wolff has extended his contract with Mercedes for the next 3 seasons. And you can see why. Since becoming the team principal for the Silver Arrows back in 2013, the team have won 7 Constructors' Championships in a row and 7 Drivers' Championships in a row. But what has made Toto Wolff such a success in Formula 1? Let's have a look. My name's Andy and this is Behind the Drive. So in this video I'll take a quick look at Wolff's journey to Mercedes and his history in motorsport, followed by how he created the highly successful team environment at Mercedes, focusing on 3 key points to their success. And then I'll look at what we can expect from Toto Wolff in the future and when he may step away from Formula 1. Wolff's journey to Mercedes. Wolff's career in motorsport actually started as a driver back in the 1990s, as he competed in the Austrian and German Formula Ford championships, as well as a number of GT championships around Europe. He had a few successes, including winning the 24 Hours at the Nürburgring in his category in 1994. However, not only was Toto Wolff having success on the track, but elsewhere he founded investment firms, initially focused on internet and technology investments in the late 90s and early 2000s. But Wolff's progression towards Formula 1 came in the form of F1 driver management, as alongside former F1 driver Mika Häkkinen, Wolff started to manage a number of racing drivers, including 2012 DTM champion Bruno Spengler, Alexandra Premat, the former test driver for Spiker, and then also Valtteri Bottas, and we all know where he's ended up. In 2009, Wolff took a further step into Formula 1 as he bought a share of the Williams team, joining their board of directors. He then became the executive director in 2012, working alongside the then team principal, Sir Frank Williams. But he didn't stay in that role for too long, as in January 2013, Wolff left the team to become an executive director of the Mercedes F1 team, and at the same time he acquired 30% of the Mercedes Grand Prix Limited, as he subsequently sold his Williams shares by 2016. Toto Wolff at Mercedes. As we know, it's at Mercedes that Toto Wolff has achieved his greatest successes, securing the 7 double world championships in a row, and being the dominant team during the turbo hybrid era. And the crazy part is that unlike other dominant teams in times gone by, where perhaps certain personnel have moved on from the team and created cracks, or complacency or overconfidence has led to the team's downfall, the Mercedes team looks as strong as ever going into 2021, and Wolff has been a key factor in it all. And I think that there are 3 key principles that Wolff has instilled in the Mercedes team, all of which have contributed massively to their success. These are empowerment and a no-blame culture, finding marginal gains, and setting realistic goals and objectives each season. But just before I get into these points in more detail, I just wanted to take a moment to ask you to consider subscribing to Behind the Drive. I have loads more F1 related content to come for 2021 and beyond. Thanks. Empowerment and no-blame culture. The first key point to look at is the idea of empowerment within the team and an ability to fail fast. And to achieve this, the team operate with a no-blame culture. As part of this culture, there is first a recognition that if something was to go wrong at the team, there is a diagnosis process to ensure that an issue doesn't occur again, rather than pointing the finger at a given weak link in the chain. A great example of this was at the Sakir Grand Prix in 2020. The team lost themselves an almost certain 1-2 finish as they were the dominant team in the race. It was hosted under novel circumstances on the shorter outer circuit of the Bahrain track, which hosted lap times of under a minute. During the late safety car, the team opted to double stack, and given there was less time to prepare for the 2 cars to come into the pits, the crew were not prepared to service the cars in time. They ended up putting the wrong tyres on George Russell's car and not changing Valtteri Bottas's tyres at all. Now, whereas it would be easy to place the blame on a given individual or team, instead the team immediately investigated the issue, recognising that there was a failure in the radio communication from the pit wall to the mechanics in the garage, which then meant that the wrong tyres were brought out. And now this has happened once, you can be sure it won't happen again, as instead of placing the blame, the team have come together to recognise the issue and resolve it. And this key aspect to the team's success has been recognised more widely, as the no-blame culture has been adopted by the Mercedes Formula E team. Toto Wolff has also spoken about the importance of empowering the team on many occasions, as it's become critical to trust the individuals with their respective areas. And a huge part of this trust is being able to leave his business in the hands of other members of the leadership team should he require it. As a result, he's described the Mercedes team as having many leaders throughout the organisation, from people heading up small teams to people leading on their individual work. This empowerment has allowed the team to continue their success when significant personnel changes have happened at the top of the organisation. For example, the switch from Paddy Lowe to James Allison as Chief Technical Director. Despite the regulation changes, the 2017 season was once again another dominant one for the team as they continued their success at the highest level of Formula One. And once again, I expect them to do the same, with Andy Cowell, the managing director of the powertrain division of the team, being replaced by Hal Thomas. I'm sure the team will continue to deliver at the highest level in advance of the engine freeze coming in for 2022. So this empowerment and no-blame culture has allowed the team to thrive throughout the turbo hybrid era. And it's this empowerment and no-blame culture that's also resulted in some of the key innovations and marginal gains that the team have seen over the last 7 years. Marginal gains. The Mercedes outfit under Toto Wolff have created an environment in which every member of their circa 1,400 strong workforce is valued and deemed to be integral to the success of the car. As a result, they reward their team members accordingly. If the team win the championship, all of their staff, from the cleaners to the directors, receive at least a £10,000 bonus. And although this is a potentially huge outlay for the team and more likely the sponsors, it's also a recognition that each member of the team is valuable and can make a difference to the success of the car. Plus, they ensure that all the staff have a parking space at the factory, something that sounds rather trivial, but actually ensures that all the Mercedes team start their day in a positive way, as opposed to having to find alternative parking. And it's the little things like this that do make a difference. When it comes to the race team, the team fly pillows all around the world with them to ensure the mechanics can rest well and are always on top form. As a result, the Mercedes car and engine is the most reliable on the grid, as well as being the fastest, and has been for 7 years in a row. But this search for marginal gains also spans to the car. The team are constantly searching for the next area to improve. Take for example the DAS system that the team invented for the 2020 year. This was a response to a challenge that the drivers had fed back to say that they were struggling to manage the tyre temperature, particularly during safety car periods. And so the team set to work finding an innovative solution to the problem, settling on the DAS system. A setup that was so advanced that it was actually outlawed for the 2021 regulations to ensure that the other teams didn't have to spend additional resources and time to keep up with the Mercedes team. This ability to manage tyre temperatures gave the Mercedes car a slight advantage over the other teams, and should the championship have been much closer, it could have made the difference. Then you can also look back to 2018, where the team utilised another solution to again manage tyre temperatures. The team went back to the drawing board and amended the design of their wheel rims, altering the airflow and subsequently the wheel rim temperature, which then cooled the tyres. Once again, the team made the smallest of changes and were demonstrating their constant desire to improve. Realistic goals and objectives. The final important point regarding the success of the Mercedes team is setting realistic goals each year that everyone within the team knows and can work towards. Now, when you've won the championship so many times consecutively, it's difficult to have something new to strive for each time. Of course, their main objective is winning the championship, but in addition to this main target, they've added additional bonuses. For example, in 2017, their goal was to become the first team to win through a regulation change. 2019 was focused on beating the all-time record of double championships in a row, previously held by Ferrari. All of these additional goals that were put in place have allowed the team to continue to strive for excellence year on year. And going into 2022, it can be expected that they'll once again aim to win through another, more significant regulation change. And the key theme through all of these goals is that there was never any complacency. They're constantly looking to achieve that next point. As we saw in the marginal gains examples, each individual team has their own goals also. Having an ability to innovate and achieve those small wins represents the smaller team or individual achievements and successes. Rather than looking at the car out ahead on track and thinking, that's a job well done, the team instead look at the issues and set themselves targets to find solutions. So these were just 3 of many aspects that Toto Wolff has instilled across the organisation, and it's been a huge team effort to achieve what they have over the last 7 years. This is not to mention the 3 drivers that have been with the team during this period, with each of them also striving to be the best they can be and improve year on year, much like the rest of the team. Toto Wolff's future. This year, the structure of Toto Wolff's partnership with the Mercedes team has changed. He's now a 1/3 owner, alongside Ineos and Mercedes. He's also signed a deal that will see him remain as the CEO and team principal for the next 3 seasons. But alongside this, Wolff continues to invest in other teams, as he recently purchased a 5% stake in Williams and has also bought a 4.95% stake in the Aston Martin team. But based on his recent statements in the media, Wolff already has a view as to who may replace him in that team principal role once he moves on from the team. But I expect he will continue in his CEO position after moving on from the role of team principal. So when his contract does come up in 3 years' time, who knows where they'll be? Their era of dominance could have even ended. But I think that what Toto Wolff has built at the Mercedes team is a model that other teams will need to follow in order to attain the levels of the Silver Arrows. So that's my view on what makes Toto Wolff such a good team principal and some of the factors behind the Mercedes dominance. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video and watched this far, then please leave it a like and consider subscribing to Behind the Drive. I've got loads more F1 content to come for 2021 and beyond.